Hey, welcome to the fifth episode of Unlimited Seating. I'm your host, Sanila Samuel. I'm so happy that I have with me as my guest for today, Lena Marselis. Lena is the Systems and Services Leader for Eastern Europe at Signify. She's based in Warsaw, Poland. Hey, Lena, thank you so much for joining me here today at Unlimited Seating.
Thank you, Sanila. Thanks for having me. Very exciting.
Lena, can you please share a bit about yourself? Hey, where did you start out? How did you get to where you are today?
For sure. So originally I'm Russian. So I was born in Moscow, and that's why I started my first studies at university. I was studying informatics at that time and programming. And then after some time, I moved to the Netherlands to study business and marketing. So I studied there. And I've been based there for around 8 years. I've been working also in the Netherlands for a couple of companies, varying from um, very much IT based to fashion to healthcare. And then at a certain moment, I thought that a colleague of mine was working in lighting industry. And I remember she told me once that she was at a conference and she said, I'm changing lives. I'm saving lives. I'm making people feel better. Right. And she said, it's just so impactful. So I thought, okay, you know what? I need to move to lighting for sure. And I found myself 3 coaches and Philips Lighting at that time. And I was sitting with them every week, asking them to tell me more about the industry, about how they do things from completely different functions. So from sales, from customer service, from some other roles as well. And then I reached out to a few of my colleagues at that time in the Philips Lighting all around the world. And and I found a fantastic opportunity in Dubai at that time. It was around 8.5 years ago. So I had an interview and it sounded super exciting. And I remember that when I got the assignment, I couldn't understand anything out of that. But I thought, you know what, let me just go for it. There's something to learn. And and 3 months later, I was already in Dubai working for Philips Lighting, which is now called Signify. And I started as a business developer for connected lighting, what we call in terms of complex systems, architectures, right? So if you think about maybe building facades, right, changing colors, those kind of things. And so basically during the 8 years, I think it was very interesting progression from business development, sales to more technical roles of proposal management and then operations. So I was managing the kind of center of excellence for the Middle East, Turkey, Pakistan, and Africa. Mm-hmm. And then last year, I got a great opportunity here in Warsaw to manage similar kind of function based out of Warsaw, responsible for Eastern Europe. That's including all the Central Eastern Europe countries plus Russia and Central Asia. So I would say that's it, and that's why I'm here now.
Okay, and I know you're doing a couple of other things as well.
True indeed. So actually in absolutely by chance, actually in 2017, I was looking for communication training and presentation skills training for my team. And I remember I went to one institute that was providing different trainings. And I said, you know what, I want this for my team. And then I said, this 15 trainings I want for myself. And there was a lady who came to me and she said, you know what, I have one training for you and you will never need anything else. It sounded, like a magic pill, right? Just take this one and everything is solved. So it was so intriguing. So I said, I have to go for it. And it was just 4 days training based on, let's say, very much based on hypnosis and changing yourself as a personality and setting goals. And when I came back to the office, my whole team said, we don't even recognize you anymore. And I was just flying around. I said, this is so fabulous. It was a coaching training based on neuro-linguistic programming. And when I came back, I said, everyone has to know it. It's just so fantastic. It can change lives in 1 minute. Everyone needs to do it. So that's when I started also the coaching community, where we bring coaches and learners together. even myself, I have so many coaches, but it's difficult to find them, right? So I thought, it's really must for everyone to have a coach or a mentor or someone who inspires you and brings you forward. That's how we founded biiwow. And we also have a small team over there, based all over the world, from Mexico to far east of Russia. So yeah, and that's also very exciting, of course.
Thank you for sharing. It's a very interesting story, and I actually want to know more about Beva, so I'll talk to you about that offline.
For
I
sure.
wouldn't mind getting a coach or two. So
Definitely.
very interesting, Lena. So Russia, Netherlands, Dubai, now Warsaw. It seems like you have no hesitation picking up and moving to some place that's brand new for you. Is that something you had to learn, or did it just come naturally? Do you have like any hesitation, or you just go explore and embrace something new?
It's a very interesting question. Actually, I also studied for a while in the US and also in France. So those were maybe shorter period of times, but I read once an article which said that it's always a cycle, right? When you come to a country, at the beginning you love everything. It's new, it's exciting, right? Everyone shows you the best restaurants, the best touristic places, right? Both best sightseeing places. Then you kind of get into this routine and you say, okay, maybe some things, start figuring out, some things I don't like, people maybe you need to adapt to certain shops, I need to find a hairdresser. So you get these complexities, right? But once you figure it out, that's when you actually start liking, let's say, the place. And for me, I think every single time I went through this cycle, and of course, what helps a lot is having friends, local friends, right, who help you to get over it and to show you more places, right, and help you get, let's say, used to the place.
So, Lena, I've seen you talked about coaches a lot, right? You went looking for coaches when you wanted to shift your careers to the lighting industry, and then you went for this training as well, all around coaching. It seems like an important theme in your career, right? Did you learn this along the way, or did you just naturally have some coaches and then you realized, hey, this is something that I need to keep going?
Interesting question. If I think about my first coach, he was assigned to me when I joined Philips Healthcare at that time. And yeah, I think he didn't know what to do with me really. So we were just sitting together and he was kind of also figuring out how to do coaching, right? He was just assigned to me. But over time, he helped me so much that, and he was giving me all kind of business insights, right? Also maybe personal feedback. And it helped a lot. And I think I was really lucky that all my managers were also really coaches and still up till today. And they were so different, but at the same time, there were a few common traits that they actually taught me over the years. And one of them was really about coaching. And, I just figured out somehow at the beginning, it was very long ago that it's very easy to build a network and very easy to get to know different industries, customers, I don't know what, partners, if you just get someone from that industry. And I always say that, it's actually, you don't need to have one coach because it's all about what you want to learn from a person, right? And it's network. And whenever I was seeing a person who was good at something, and negotiation skills, customer meetings, right, whatever it was, I was reaching out to him. I said, can you be my coach for this specific subject? Right? Because if you like my, I don't know, certain traits, it doesn't mean that I'm great at everything, right? So that's why having one coach for me is a bit limiting. And I can tell you that now probably I have 6 to 7 coaches easily. And with different cadence, some I meet maybe once every month, some maybe every week, some maybe every quarter, because of different objectives, right? Because of different questions that I have, different subjects. But I think the beautiful thing about coaching is that it doesn't need to have any rules, right? It's what works for you. Then you build it accordingly.
Interesting. I love this concept of, hey, finding. It seems like you started with self-awareness. Hey, what do I want to be coached on? And then identifying, hey, who are the people in my network who can say coach me on, say, communication, or coach me on the healthcare industry and or some project that I'm working on. So being very specific about coaching, yeah, that's a very good point. There's a lot of I think I've seen like coaching slash mentorship programs that companies launch. I think when you're assigned, you don't know where to start and you don't keep it up because you're going to find you're going all over the place and maybe you're not kind of hitting the right notes with the person. So it fizzles out a bit. I think the tip on, hey, being specific about what is it that you want to be coached on or mentored on, and then seeing if the person is the right person for that particular aspect that you are trying to work on. And so that's a
Spot
very
on.
good.
That's absolutely spot on what you said about if the person is right. Because what I always tell my team as well, when I recommend coaches to them, is that if you don't click, just tell it immediately to the coach, right? Don't waste your time, don't waste his time. And I remember even I told my coach at that time, I said, "You're absolutely fabulous. You changed my life. It's great." And she told me, she said, "It's not always this way. It's not about me. It's about you as well." Right. And a very interesting thing actually is about, my coach trainer, he always said two things. One is don't touch a client before he becomes a client, right? Meaning don't jump on a person trying to help him if he's not ready. And second one is, are you committed or are you interested? Right? Because a lot of people are interested to check how it will work, right? But they're not always committed. And I think in whatever number of people I have coached, maybe, I don't know, maybe around 20 or something, there were only two which really made a difference, right? And because they really wanted it, they were really committed and they really want to go for it.
True, true. Coming to that then, Lena, who've been your role models, I guess, growing up and throughout now? Have you had specific role models who you've learned from and tried to shape yourself accordingly?
I don't want to sound like a cliche, but I try to learn from everyone, of course, right? It's a good trait, I think.
Yeah, of course.
But I have to say I was really lucky with all my managers throughout my career, and they all were extremely different, but they had few common traits, right? And I was just also thinking that probably I picked up few things from them. So one was that they always cared about people, and cared, I mean 360. They cared about my career, my personal development, maybe even personal topics, right? So it was really making sure that you understand the person you connect, right? And the second one, they always inspired open discussions, and continuous improvement. So whatever you didn't like, you could openly speak up and immediately you would solve it, right? Maybe not solve it, but at least you would have let's say, path how to get there. The third one was actually about making mistakes, right? It was always encouraged, just go do it. They'll figure it out, right? Lessons learned, and move on. Another one, which I thought was also very interesting, is they always gave me opportunity to shine, let's say, right? So they were never, oh, okay, you've done it, let me present it as my result, right? They were always saying, okay, you now go present to the customers. And I think for me, all my managers shared these traits in the past, and I really appreciated it. That's what I'm trying now to bring to my team members as well.
Lena, in your career, right, how have you kept moving to these roles where many times you were probably the only woman or one of the very few women in the room or in the meeting? Is it something that stood out for you? Did you realize it as you are or were or are going through it? And was there other things that came along with it in terms of, hey, how much you had to put yourself forward, how you had to talk about your achievements? Can you just share your experiences?
For sure. Actually I never think about this till I get this question every now and then. I studied, of course, my first study was IT, right? So we were 100 guys and 3 girls in the course. So I was always very comfortable with, male-dominated environment, let's say. So for me, it was not maybe a point of attention, even, I would say. Then, when I came to lighting, we had a team of around, 25 people, and we were 2 girls over there. Right, so you can imagine it was also like this. But again, it was not really a point of concern for me. I have a funny story. I was once in Saudi, and it was already maybe 6-7 years ago, and there was a conference about energy efficiency, and our team proposed me as a speaker. So I arrived, and the organizer, he saw me. Imagine, in Saudi around 6 years ago, right? So he saw me and he was terrified. He said, "We don't have a license for women to attend the event." And I said, "Okay, I can leave, no problem, right? Of course." And he said, "No, it's okay. Just sit there at the back. Okay, if no one complains, you can stay." So I was sitting over there, and it was funny. The first speaker comes up, and of course, I'm very visible, right, in abaya and everything with the covered head. And the first speaker came on stage, and he said, "Good morning, gentlemen, and a lady." Second one, "Good morning, gentlemen, and a lady." And so throughout the day, no one complained, right? So second day, I'm the presenter. So I went on the stage and I did my presentation. And from then on, every next speaker was saying, "Good morning, gentlemen, and Elena." It was, and I think, so again, just to answer your question, I think for me, it's not a matter of being female or male or whatever. It's a matter of proving yourself and fighting your way through.
So I'm going to ask you a very honest question, Lena. You keep reading about sexual harassment in the workplace, right? And it's on different levels, right? Sometimes it's the obvious ones, but then there's also the everyday the jokes that probably make you a little uncomfortable. There's the unasked for invites. Personally, I've had the invites to go for, like, say, dinners, or hey, let's go to the first class lounge so we'll travel together. Unwanted and uncomfortable sort of jokes and conversation, sometimes even from somebody senior in the organization, right? Have you had to deal with it? Have you had other female colleagues experience it?
Yeah, that's a deep question. I would say there are two parts to it. I think one is to understand, to interpret the, let's say, invite or comment properly, right? And the second one is what to do with it. And I think the first one is more related to, and I was talking to one lady about it recently, and she said, "You know what? Every culture, nationality, personality, right? They all have different level of barriers. How close can I enter your, let's say, direct environment?" And I think first it's the same about this kind of jokes, right? Maybe for someone it means nothing, right? Because the person is just very open and he really means nothing. But for you, it's something very close to heart, right? And so I think first is to understand, is it really something?
Yeah.
Or is it just an innocent joke? Yeah. The second point is, what do you do with that? Right. And I think here I've also seen, so have I seen colleagues and have I seen other girls being, let's say, harassed and approached? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Have I faced it myself also? Out of the question. The point is that how do you handle that? And I think here it's very important to create the borders. You don't have to be rude. You don't have to be offensive or insulting or whatever, but it's about saying a no, right? And it's very interesting, by the way, why sometimes you tell, it was also from my coaching part. So, when you say something, you say it with words, you say it with certain intonation, you have body language, you have certain looks, right? And that's why to the kids, if you tell them, "Don't take it," and you smile, they see that there is let's say something doesn't fit, right? So you smile, but at the same time you say, "Don't take it," and they happily take it, right? So I think it's very important to be absolutely firm, respectful, but at the same time to say it's absolutely no go for me, right?
Yeah.
And maybe just two recommendations that I could give. One is to ask, what do you mean by that? Right? And the second one, if you're sure that, I don't know, if someone tells you, "Oh, you're so beautiful," or whatever, a very good question is, what's the purpose of telling me that?
That's a good one. Good tips. Good tips. I mean, what do you mean? I think is a good follow-up question, right?
Mm-hmm.
Clarify the intent.
Right? Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. Good point. So, Lena, you've had a lot of coaches. You've obviously taken on different roles in your career. What is the most, maybe toughest feedback that you have received? How did you take it and work on it?
Good question, as always. um, okay, probably one of the toughest things for me was it was very early in my career that there was one colleague who told me that I'm very, what did he tell me? He said there's a lot of activity, not a lot of output.
Okay.
And for me, it was because I was running around always. My biggest strength, I would say, is about activating things, making things,
Hmm.
eventually jumping on top of things, being very spontaneous, not being very. I'm very comfortable with uncertainty as well. And from then on, I was really looking into, okay, I need to start small, complete it, release, right? It's very easy to fall into this trap of, okay, let's make things great, right? And then it drags. So, and yeah, I don't want to say this cliche thing about perfectionism, right? But a lot of people told me that I am. And because of, yeah, even the small things, small comma here, small space here, right, missing. So I cannot tolerate this. But now I think what I'm doing more and more said, okay, we release basic version, whatever it is, we go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what I noticed as well, and someone told me this sometime back, that people very often when they see 100% of whatever task, objective, purpose, vision, whatever, they don't agree with 1%, they will use it as an excuse not to do anything.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think for me, this is probably was the big, most challenging thing to make sure, okay, you have certain vision, these things don't work, it's fine, park them, go ahead, right, with this 99%.
Yeah.
So to really make sure that we keep moving, because otherwise you will never move anywhere.
It's interesting feedback. It happens to me as well. If I'm working on a project, I want to finish everything because I want to delight this person or this customer with the whole work
Yeah,
that I've done. So sometimes it does lead to, oh, I don't know if she's still working on it, or I don't know if something is happening on it. That has happened to me a few times, and I really need to get out of my comfort zone to say, just show the work in
yeah,
progress. Just show where
yeah,
you've got to today.
yeah. By the way, there's one more interesting thing I wanted to share. When I moved to this role specifically, okay, so in the past, I was always working with everyone as a top talent in a team. Yeah, for me, everyone has an opportunity to, let's say, grow, develop, right, in his own personal direction. And my manager told me at that time, he said, you treat everyone as a superstar, but not everyone as a superstar. And it was very difficult for me to, let's say, get over it.
Mm.
And I think it's linked to the fact that when client is not a client, leave him alone, right? And I remember when I finished my coaching course, I jumped on everyone. I said, you all need it. We were sitting and doing all the exercises. And I saw that some were more interested than others. They were all interested, right? But some were less committed than others. And of course, it was not forced. It was just, something that I really wanted to share. And, when I moved to this role, I saw one video from Patrick Lencioni. I love the guy. I totally recommend every book that he ever written. And he said that a common trap for managers is to focus on those people who don't perform and spend a lot of time with them to pull them up. And at this moment, they actually lose top performers because top performers say, oh, those guys get the most attention, so I do want to be the same, or they just leave, right?
Mm.
He said you always focus on top performers because you want those who don't perform that well to see it and to grow that way. And those who don't, they leave.
Yeah.
And this was actually my biggest thing. I think biggest thing I changed when I moved over here. And it works fantastic. Yeah, because I think we really need to create certain standards, right? And by the way, it's very funny. I love cooking programs. Specifically with Gordon Ramsay. He's my absolute role model.
Me too.
Yeah. and I kept watching it and I couldn't understand. I said, why am I watching it? Because, okay, cooking, I don't remember anything out of what they were cooking, but it's all about the management of the team. So I actually I remember, a small presentation to the team about the management skills. And he talks so much about standards, right? About quality, about every single play needs to be perfect, right? And I think in business world, sometimes, okay, maybe this can be so, this can be perfect, right? So I think it's important to keep the standard in mind always. And that's why you want to have every single person to be absolutely best. And it's very easy, in difficult times when it's difficult to recruit for certain roles to say, okay, this person is maybe not 100%, but all right. And I think it's important to really keep this. No, we want only the people that will really be part of the team long term. And
Yeah, I agree with that comment on like spending time with the top performance. I think it's a bit of a natural inclination we have that if somebody needs more help, we want to actually help them. And I've read the same book as well. It's a bit counterintuitive, but I think
exactly.
when you think about it, it's very true because you don't want to alienate your top performers.
Yeah. And it's fantastic to see how others grow as well,
Yeah.
because they see what kind of performances and, let's say, um, appreciated, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, correct. So Lena, that was good feedback. You took it, you actioned it, right? You didn't like kind of just say, no, this is I'm still working very hard. So you actually worked on it, and the other piece as well on leadership.
Job. And I think it's also responsibility of hiring manager and of recruiter to make sure that the person will like it, right? Because it's for both of you to understand
Yeah.
whether you want each other, right, with the company. It's not only for the company to say, yeah, okay, we want you to join. And so on my job interviews, I always ask candidates what would really frustrate you in a job and in an environment, what kind of things make you angry, because I do want to make sure that if things that we face every day, same as any other company, that it's not something that they cannot handle.
Good example. Okay, Lena, how you've moved through, you said, different industries. You've been with lighting for some time now. How are you planning the next few phases of your career?
What a tricky question.
I maybe didn't give you this in the list of points.
Exactly.
I'm always just
Okay.
curious to see how people are people are you actually planning it, or is it more, you're happy to go where things take you? I feel it's a bit of both, but I'm curious to understand.
It is a bit of both for sure. Look, but I also always tell to my team members, I said, have direction in mind. You will never have it 100% precise, right? It's always a mix of your skills, timing, opportunities coming up, right? It comes all over the place, right? So you never know. If you, I was in Warsaw 2 years ago, and I said, I'm probably never coming back,
Hmm.
right? And here I am. So you never know. And I think it's important to be open for this kind of things, but it's important to know direction, right? Do you want to be an entrepreneur? Do you want to stay in a corporate? Do you want to grow? Do you like your current position? Do you want to go more technical, more commercial, right? So I think this is very important, and to say to yourself again, this is definitely what's important for me to have in a role, and this is really something I don't want, right? So for myself, I always definitely want to stay mobile. I don't see myself just living in one place forever. That's for sure. I cannot tell you that I have concrete, let's say, locations in mind, but maybe they're coming up in the next couple of weeks. And yeah, I think for now in my current role, I think because I just joined in January, right? So just over 10 months ago, it's important for me to make sure that the team is set up and it's running on its own. And there are a lot of things that we're building at the moment. So I think the next few months, I'm definitely here. But at the same time, I do want to continue with my biiwow and with the coaching activities as well. For me, it's I do need to have it on the side, right? Because it's just something that's so dear to my heart, and I really want to make sure that we make a difference. So I think for me, for now, it's really the combination of the two. And I told you also in in our previous discussion, right, that for me it's not one or the other, because I think they reinforce each other as well.
Yeah, yeah.
And because today we have quite a big team, and I think certain coaching skills they really help. And I do work with a couple of colleagues all around the world as well, and yeah, it helps us also to connect, and also it helps me. And I was also telling that coaching, it looks like it's for the coachee, right? So for the person who is learning, but actually it's not. From all the persons that I was coaching, I learned so much. And then there were, when I had tough times, they came back to me and they coached me back with my own words, even, and sometimes it really helps. So you're basically growing these people around to help you at the same time, right? So yeah, so for me, it's really the two things. And then, yeah, and then let's see. For me, it's about really driving my own thing, but at the same time, being part of bigger organization and having people around.
Yeah.
So that's what's important.
I see that as a common theme throughout our conversation, and it just seems that that's something that's really important. It comes naturally to you probably, but then like you said, it's not just something that you're interested in. You're actually committing to it, right? It's not one
Yeah.
conversation or two conversations. You're continuing to build and invest time into your connections with people around the globe. Um, Lena, that was very interesting conversation. I was very happy to get to know more about you, and you shared some really interesting learnings and experiences. Thanks a lot for that. Um, and thanks
Thank you so
obviously
much.
for your time. I know you have some important personal milestones coming up, so thanks a lot for your time today.
Thanks a lot, Sanila. Thanks a lot. And I wish all the best to your webcast. It's really fantastic that what you're doing. Very inspiring.
Thank you, thank you. I'm very interested to see where you're headed to next career wise, and also with biiwow. All the best for it.
Thanks a lot.